Hey y'all, this is Misty and Trace with 2 Texas lobsters and a crab
That's our crab.
with some reaction videos on World War II.
This is called Poland is Crushed, World War II, the 29th of September, 1939. If you haven't already, please ring the notification bell, like, share, and subscribe our material so we can get out there. And our hopes are that when we hit 1,000 subscribers, we're going to start doing some live streaming and get ideas and comments from you guys. And we just really want to meet the community. So the quicker we get to that 1,000 subscriber count, the quicker we can get to live streaming. Anyway, without any further ado, let's get on into the video.
September 29th, 1939. It is the capital of Poland and thus obviously the biggest prize in the twin Soviet and German invasions. And this week, Warsaw falls. I'm Indy Nidell. This is World War II. Last week, surprising pretty much the entire world, the Soviet Union invaded Poland. Their excuse for this was to protect people like the Ukrainians from possible German aggression. Germany was still in the process of its own Polish invasion, which began September 1st, although Germany and the Soviets had secretly agreed before that to divide Poland between them. Hitler gave the order to begin euthanizing the insane in Germany, but in the conquered territory, the German army was butting heads with the SS battalions and their crimes against humanity. They continue this week. As for the SS terror campaign of police and security in the conquered territory, this week, as the German police forces are consolidated into the Reich Main Security Office under his control, Reinhard Heydrich reports that of the Polish upper classes in that territory, a maximum of 3% is still present. Present means alive, according to Martin Gilbert. Many thousands of doctors, priests, teachers, businessmen, and the like have been by now rounded up and killed. Gilbert says that in one diocese, 2/3 of the nearly 700 priests have been arrested, and 214 of them have been shot. And the Germans continue taking Polish territory. Army Group South is closing into the south and west of Warsaw. The 25th becomes known to the locals as Black Monday, when 1,200 aircraft attack the city. But still, it holds out, though the bombing takes its toll. The fire brigade cannot hope to handle all the fires. Poland Betrayed says that on just the 22nd, there are around 500 fires burning simultaneously. The Warsaw Waterworks is bombed, so the firemen soon find themselves without water for their hoses and are reduced to throwing sand on the flames.
Wow.
By the 26th, with water and electricity cut, and ammunition and medical supplies running low, a civilian delegation asks Army Warsaw General Juliusz Rommel to surrender. He sends envoys to the Germans, and they agree to an end to hostilities at 2 p.m. the 27th. Polish troops are to pull back beyond a demarcation line. On the 29th, 140,000 soldiers leave the city and are taken prisoners of war. So, Warsaw has fallen. For 3 days, though, the Germans do not enter the city. Who would want to enter a city with no light and no water, filled with the wounded and the dead? Elsewhere, resistance continues, even as refugees choke the roads, but it is disheartening. Antony Beevor quotes a Polish soldier in the Second World War. "The enemy always came from the air. The spectacle of the war rapidly became monotonous. Day after day, we saw the same scenes. Civilians running to save themselves from air raids, convoys dispersing, trucks or carts on fire. The smell along the road was unchanging too. It was the smell of dead horses that no one had bothered to bury and that stank to high heaven. We moved only at night, and we learned to sleep while marching. Smoking was forbidden out of the fear that the glow of a cigarette could bring down on us the all-powerful Luftwaffe." As for the Soviet invasion, for only 4,000 casualties, and in just a few days, the Red Army takes 200,000 square kilometers of land, which includes 5 million Poles, 4.5 million Ukrainians, 1 million Belarusians, and 1 million Jews. Most of the Polish troops that have been in the eastern frontier regions are reservists, going through accelerated training. When the Russian invasion began, local commanders asked headquarters what to do. Marshal Edvard Ryd-Smigwy first told them to fight, but quickly realized how useless that would be, and then issued a directive for them to negotiate with the Soviets for safe passage to Romania or Hungary. they were only supposed to fight if the enemy fired on them or tried to take their weapons. Well, as it turned out, they have to fight. The Soviets saw them as a hostile force and moved to close the borders. Last week at Grodno, for example, there had been fierce fighting. But by the end of the week, the Polish garrison there decided to evacuate towards Lithuania. Of those left behind, a large number of POWs, notably students and volunteers, were shot by the NKVD, Soviet Secret Police. One of the cavalry regiments there, the 101st Reserve, do, however, manage to cross the border this week on the 23rd. Also, I mentioned last week that Lvov had surrendered. It was a formidable and well-defended town that had been under siege by the Germans. The Russians, though, had arrived the 19th, and Polish General Lagna, in charge, decided to surrender to them over so much opposition it included an attempted mutiny. Under the terms, his officers were to be allowed to cross into Romania or Hungary. Instead, they are rounded up and sent to Starobielsk prison camp and will eventually be murdered at Katyn on Joseph Stalin's orders.
Can you believe that? How many dead people? I mean, and this is just in one picture.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
I know.
Encounters between the German and Russian armies, like at Lvov, and the German retreat according to protocols that give some of their conquered territory to the Russians, go without serious incident. The future of Poland is still up in the air, though. German Foreign Minister Joachim von Ribbentrop is interested in Germany staking claim to the oil field south of Lublin, which makes Stalin angry. But Stalin soon decides that he could concede Lublin if the USSR eventually gets Lithuania. Von Ribbentrop flies to Moscow to discuss this and the partitioning of Poland. He accepts Stalin's proposal that the new border be along the East Prussian border to the river Narev, then down to the Bug River to the Ruthenian border. This would leave Lvov on the Soviet side. Ethnic Germans in the Soviet regions will be transferred to the German-occupied regions. Stalin also hands over a bunch of German communists. On September 28th, Germany and the USSR sign a treaty of friendship partitioning Poland. The Soviets get a bit more land, but the Germans get more people and more industry. Now the Soviet Union will put pressure on the Baltics, and a Soviet-Estonian Mutual Assistance Pact is signed, so the USSR can use bases in Estonia. The idea behind the pact, and spoiler, pact soon offered to Latvia and Lithuania, is to ensure Soviet control of the Baltic, especially in the event of German aggression. As for the Germans, Adolf Hitler takes control of lands containing 15 million Poles, 2 million Jews, 1 million ethnic Germans, and 2 million people of other ethnicities. He also takes control of the fortress
I just want to take a moment and say how impressed I am with this series. I mean, this guy really has gone all out, and it's almost more information than I can take in.
I know. I'm trying to keep it all together in my head right now.
But it's very informative.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
of Modlin, which surrenders the 28th. Actually, the Germans have had the garrisons at both Modlin and Hel Peninsula under siege. Hel was 20 miles long and just a mile wide, and was fairly easy for its 3,000 defenders to defend. Of course, that also made it a big target for planes, artillery, and naval vessels. In fact, on the 19th, when Hitler moved his headquarters to the Casino Hotel by the Gulf of Danzig, his staff would watch the daily naval bombardment of Hel over breakfast. This was provided by the battleships Schleswig-Holstein and Schlesien. Still though, even as the week ends, little progress has been made by land. As for Modlin, it has 4 infantry divisions defending it, but is surrounded. The Germans mount a heavy attack the 24th from all sides. The attackers are beaten back, but the Poles suffer heavy casualties and are forced to surrender at the end of the week. And on the 27th, Hitler tells his service chiefs he will make an attack in Western Europe as soon as possible. This is all his idea. The army, for example, is very strongly opposed. They resent his assuming direct control over strategic planning and feel underprepared. But people in Western Europe are very worried about Germany. In Britain, there is by now a fear that German agents have infiltrated society and would soon begin a campaign of sabotage. Thing is, all but a few of such German agents there were had been arrested when the war began. This was a victory for the British, but a secret one, because the Germans did not know this. This week, British intelligence scores another victory. On the 28th, Welshman Arthur Owens, whom German intelligence believe is one of its agents, goes to the Netherlands to meet his superiors. He is, in fact, codenamed Snow and works with British intelligence and convinces the Germans he has set up a fairly extensive spy network in Wales. He is given money and instructions and returns to Britain that night. This is the beginning of the XX, the double cross system. And that ends the week. Warsaw and Modlin fall to the Germans, and while units of the Polish army still manage to escape, the fate of soldier and civilian alike who do not escape looks ever grimmer. And the Germans and the Soviets sign a friendship treaty.
I think I'd like to be a spy.
Why do you
Back
want to
in
be
the
a
day,
spy?
not now. Just for the record, I'm not. Whoever may be watching this. No, I think that would have been interesting. I think that would have been a very exciting job.
I would be scared to death to be a spy. Because,
Well,
I mean,
if you're a good one, you wouldn't be scared.
Okay, but a spy, you would always either get it from one side or the other.
Well, what do you mean?
I mean, you're a spy for one or the other. You're
Well, yeah.
either going to win on one or get crucified by the other side.
I think I'd be a double agent.
Treaty as they partition their new gains. So who got the best end of the deal between Germany and the USSR? It sure looks like Germany. I mean, in the First World War, the British naval blockade had eventually strangled and starved Germany, but now the Germans could get everything they needed to continue to make war. They can get all kinds of stuff from the Soviet Union, like grain and oil, but even beyond that, the Soviets were a conduit for other supplies, especially rubber for things like tires, which Germany was unable to buy abroad. Hitler's plans of large-scale warfare in Western Europe were suddenly a lot more feasible. To learn more about the Soviet claims to Eastern Europe,
Hitler was quite
you
the
can watch
monster.
our Between Two Wars episode about war.
And just a monster. And it's funny that Putin is blaming Ukraine for being Nazis when Putin is the ideal Nazi.
Right.
He's just like Hitler, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Disagree
Well,
with me.
isn't that who he aspires to be?
No.
Basically Hitler?
No, I think more like Stalin, I would think.
I thought that he wanted to be more like Hitler.
Well, I think he...
in the way that he controls people, you know.
I think his ideal Russia would be more like the Russia of the past, maybe USSR. But regardless, I mean, it's like the things that he is doing is very, very Hitler-like, Hitler-esque,
Yeah.
I would think. Very Nazi. So he has no reason to be saying that.
And just like Hitler, he is huge propaganda. I mean...
Well, yeah, but Russia's always been. But anyway.
Right.
We'll stick on topic. I'm sorry we got off a little bit. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us, and please put down in the comments if you'd like to see anything, or if you think that we can do things better. Please let us know. We're very open-minded. We want to build a community of people that like history, that like entertaining videos, that like funny videos, just somewhere that we can all get together and just get our minds off of things. Anyway, thank you so much, and we'll see you later.
See ya.